5 books that I've not thought about since I read them. Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time on my channel, welcome for the first time. If it's not your first time, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 books that I've not thought about since I read them. Well, it's either I have short-term memory or they just didn't hit like that. But I haven't seen this video anywhere, but if you've seen someone else do it, let me know. That is before me, or not after me, but if it's after me, let me know too. Maybe I inspired them. Who knows? Let's just get into today's video. First book is The Road Trip. I don't think I went on this trip with them because I cannot even remember what this book is about, but I'm going to read the back so you know what it's about. So I also know what it's about. Addie and her sister are on an epic road trip to a friend's wedding in rural Scotland, but not long after setting off, a car slams into theirs. The car is none other than Addie's ex. Oh, I remember, who she hasn't seen since their traumatic breakup 2 years earlier. Dylan and his, is it Dylan? Dylan, whatever. And his best mate are heading to the wedding too, as Addie has no choice but to offer them a ride. And with 400 miles to go, they can't avoid confronting the very messy history of their relationship. Will they make it to the wedding? And more importantly, is this really the end of the road for Addie and Dylan? One thing I would never understand with second chance romance is how these people meet at very random situations, and it feels like the authors are always trying to create this scenario of them being in a forced environment, and that forced environment kind of like forces them to rekindle whatever was between them months or years ago. I feel like I've only read a few second chance romance that actually hit, because second chance romance is honestly not my cup of tea. I honestly don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I feel like if it is done well, I would enjoy it. I think because at the time I read this book, I rated it 4 or 4.5 stars. Funny how the minute I closed this book, I didn't even remember anything about Addie or her ex, but I think this had dual timeline or whatever they call that thing. I think that's why I didn't really enjoy it. I don't know, there's just something about second chance romance and how there's this forced proximity that now prompts them to now try to, you guys had 2 years, you can't tell me, even if you blocked each other, I feel like if you had issues or you felt like rekindling this relationship, you could have done that in 2 years. Like, just because your car crashed into mine and you have to ride with me doesn't mean I have to take you back into my life. But then again, what do I know? I don't know how they feel for each other. I might not understand this whole love thing, whatever. But I'm just saying, from my personal opinion, I don't think it should work that way. I'm just saying, because just a road trip can rekindle you people's relationship. Then why didn't you do that in the span of 2 years? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I think that's why this didn't really stick with me, because it wasn't such an emotional roller coaster. It just felt a bit unrealistic. So I just read it and it just flew over my head, and it felt like I didn't even read it at all. But yeah, this is the first book. Let me know if you've read this book and if it's something you think about every time. Well, the girl who gave me 4 stars, 4.5 stars, the previous me, I don't think she knows that she doesn't think about it anymore. But I think the reason I gave it that rating was because of Betteleri. I love her writing, so I feel like if another author had written this the same way and I don't know that author or I'm not familiar with that person's writing style, I don't think I would have given that rating. But because it's Betteleri and I like her writing style, it made it a bit more convenient for me to read. But I haven't thought about this book since then. Second book on my list is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. The thing is, I actually read this late last year and I cannot remember what this book is about, but I think I can remember it being okay. This was not actually second chance romance. 2 best friends became, you know, there's a friendship breakup, and now they went for a camping event and now they are forced, same thing, forced proximity, and all of a sudden, yeah, I think I now get why authors do this forced proximity, because imagine a situation where both of you broke up and both of you just blocked each other, and then you're forced to come back to a certain place or to work together, and because you're forced to see each other every single day, then you would not want to discuss what actually happened then, when you couldn't listen to, okay, maybe you didn't want to hear the person's other side of the story as at that time, but now you guys are seeing each other every day, so you're forced to, you know, talk. So I think I understand that. I feel like I understand it more because this one, they were friends, do you understand? And sometimes being friends with someone and then not being their friend anymore, you then want to, I don't know, get the friendship back or something like that. I don't know, Sha. But this one's a fell in love. I think this is a high school romance. Yeah, it's high school, so it's YA. So yeah, it's a bit I gave this 3 stars or 3.5 stars, but the minute I closed this book I never thought about it again. Funny thing is, I have tabs. I feel like I was just so generous with my tabs at the time I was reading this book, but there are tabs on this book. Crazy. But yeah, I haven't thought about this book since I read it last year. Oops. Also, let me know if you've read this book and if you actually think about it, or you're like me and you don't think about it. Next book is by 2 authors that I actually really love. I read a book by them and I still think about that book. So I really thought I would have the same feeling about this particular book, and it turned out not to be that way. And the book is Something Wilder. You guys, now that I'm picking up this book, I'm remembering a lot of things. This book was literally out of sight, out of mind. The moment I put this on my shelf, memory wiped. The only thing I can remember about this book is the prologue, where the main characters were introduced, and I think they had a teenage romance thingy, but he moved to the city. And another crazy event that happened in this book, I'm not gonna say it. I would have said spoiler, and then no, I don't even want to say it. You can imagine something very traumatic and sad happening in the middle of this type of books. Like, this book was supposed to be a very light-hearted, you know, going on a trip type of thing. So apparently, since he moved to the city, she decided to start, you know, being is it tour guide? Yeah, that kind of thing. She still stayed in the small town. Do you understand? So now he goes back to that small town on a trip with his friends, and she's the one, like, she's their tour guide. So there's a Fox proximity again. But something really crazy happened in this book, and if you've read this book, I think you would know what I'm talking about. Like, just in the middle of the book and something just like that, and everybody just moved past it just like that, and it just went back to being a light-hearted book. So I think it was just very light, and it didn't have something. I feel like I really love emotional books, like emotional books that are written well. Yeah, but this was very light. It didn't give up that vibe, except for the sad thing that happened in the middle. I think that's the only thing that I remember even picking up this book. Not that I thought about it after. No, that's how lighthearted it was. Like, it happened and everybody just moved on. So there was no so much, you know, emotions surrounding it for me to now start thinking about, like, oh my god, something like this happened. So yeah, there are actually 2 authors, Christina and Lauren, like I said. So 2 others. But yeah, I think I rated this book 4 stars. At the time that I read it, a lot of people didn't actually like this book. I would see reviews of them reading it. I can't remember when I read this book. That's how emotionally detached I am with this book. But yeah, I haven't thought about it since I read it. Also, let me know if you've read this book and what you think about what happened in the book, and if you've also thought about it since you've read it or you've not. Yeah, just let me know. The next book I'm about to talk about is a book that I wish I put back on the shelf while I was at the bookstore. That's how detached I feel about this book. Like, I wish the day I picked it up from the bookshelf, I literally put it back. But because I don't read synopsis or blurbs of book, is it synopsis they call it? But yeah, I don't read synopsis or blurbs of book. I didn't read this one. I just saw the title and I picked it up. It had a blue cover. I think I'm maybe attracted to books with blue covers. If it's not purple, if it's not yellow, I think I would go for blue. So because of that, I just picked up this book, and I wish that man was smart enough and she didn't pick it up. And this book is The Paris Connection by who? Lorraine Brown. You know, the funniest thing is that it was after I picked this book up that I decided to go and search who this author was and the books they've written. And I had already bought this book, and I started seeing reviews on this book. People were giving it 3 stars, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is not a good sign. But I'm just a believer of, you know, reading yourself, find out yourself, you know, have your own opinion. And I decided to have my own opinion, and my opinion is like their own. Okay, so from the blurb, apparently Hannah misses a connection with her fiance. Is it fiance or fiance or boyfriend? Okay, a boyfriend. And then she ends up on another train with a random person, and just one day they fall in love. Please tell me something different. I think at the time I was reading the book, I almost fell asleep a few times. This book was given unrealistic. I don't know how people fall in love in one day. I hate books that do that. Like, you just meet someone one day and you fall in love with that person. I don't know how that works. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But like, you have a boyfriend, and if you've been noticing that a lot of things you don't like in your boyfriend, and now you see it in someone else, what's the assurance that that person is not lying to you or putting on a camouflage or whatever? But she discovered things that are not in her boyfriend in this person, and she falls in love with this person. So not my cup of tea. I really didn't like it when I read it, so I didn't even expect myself to think about it. I really wish I could give this book out to someone else, because looking at it, I don't feel anything for this book. But like I said before, I think I was very generous with book tabs. I also tabbed this book as you can see, though it was not so many tabs, but at least I tabbed it. I could have honestly saved my tabs, but then again, it's probably quotes that I liked or maybe scenes that I liked, but I don't know if the author was just okay for me. I don't know, Sha, but nah, I didn't like it. So yeah, I didn't have any reason to think about it. I think I rated this book 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. Anyways, I haven't seen anyone talk about this book. I think I only saw one review about it, and that was because I looked for it on Instagram. On the gram, I looked for that review. But anyways, let me know if you've read this book and if you've also thought about it since you read it, because I haven't. So we've come to the last book on my list. This is the point I tell you, if you haven't liked this video, like it. If you're enjoying it so far, like this video. Okay, if you have something sweet to say to me, say it in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, if you like my vibe, you like my energy, and you want to see more of this, how would you see more of this if you don't subscribe and turn on post notifications? Sometimes YouTube might not recommend me again, so subscribe now. You done that? Okay, let's talk about the last book. So last book is You've Reached Sam. A lot of people said they cried. I didn't even sweat reading this book. The premise of this book is good, but to me it wasn't written so well. You know, her boyfriend dies. It's not a spoiler, it's literally at the back, okay? Her boyfriend dies, she calls him one more time and he hears his voice. It's good, okay? The premise is good, the blurb is good, but I don't know, the writing just didn't do it for me. Like, it didn't, like, it's death we're talking about. I feel like I said, I love emotional reads. Like, as I'm reading, I want to close the book for a minute and be like, breathe in, breathe out. That kind of reading that will make you feel things, make you feel emotion. This felt very light and people cried. I don't know if I have a strong heart or I'm wicked or something, but I didn't even sweat reading this book. And as usual, that man was generous with tabs again. I think she just had something with tabs being in her books. Maybe that was something she loved. Well, yeah. Then Marv, I don't think he did me a favor, because this is also one of the books that I would actually like to give out if there was a chance for me to give it out. But I think I've marked some parts, I've tabbed some parts. Okay, I haven't marked it, I've tabbed. Okay, I've tabbed some parts. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't for me. There are people that like this book, it wasn't for me. And it's YA again. So for me, YA is hit or miss. There are some YA books that will be written so well that you would just be like, oh my goodness, who is this author? And like they say, first impression matters. After reading this book, I don't think I would want to read another book by this author, because I'm not sure I love the writing style so much to go for another one or go for another round. So yeah, I rated this book 3 stars at the time that I read it. I feel like the premise was something strong, but it didn't give that vibe. It just gave very light YA read. It was okay. I haven't thought about it since I read it, because I just didn't feel attached to the characters or to the story. I feel like this is more popular. A lot of people have read this. So yeah, let me know if you're part of people that have also read this book, and if you also cried. I didn't. Also, if you've thought about it since you read it. I didn't. But yeah, that's it. So those are all the books that I have not thought about since I read them. Like I said, I don't know if it's short-term memory or maybe the writing style, or I just didn't feel connected to the books, because there's so many books that I've read and I think about them almost every single day. Like when someone asks me for a book recommendation, those are like the first book that comes to my head. But then I think, okay, is this person this type of genre, or are they interested in this type of book? Do you understand? But this book just didn't do it for me. They are mostly 4 stars or 3-star books, and I don't just remember them at all. Like, life has just been the same since I read them. Nothing has changed. They don't feel real. I don't think about them and wonder, oh my gosh, are they doing okay? Are they doing all right? Yeah, sometimes I think about some of the books that I read and I think about the characters. I'm like, are they okay? Like, it feels so real, but this one didn't feel like that. Let me know if you've read any of this book. Don't forget to like, share if you have a bookworm friend that would like a video like this, and subscribe if you want to see more of me and more of my videos and my vibe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.